Welcome to the Alamo City, San Antonio, Texas. This city loves boxing. In the main event, a battle of unbeaten. Mark Magsayo, Rey Vargas.
There's only one left undefeated in this coming Saturday, so it's gonna be me.
The higher they go with their confidence, the harder they fall.
No, man, you never fought a guy like me. I'm not worried. I've been the best in my division.
They don't know what's coming, and when that happens, that's when I'm gonna tear his head off. You'll see.
See you Saturday.
For the WBC Featherweight Championship of the World, Rey Vargas. Mark Magsayo, the champion. A big night indeed.
Featherweight fisticuffs on the agenda this evening in San Antonio as a Showtime Championship Boxing triple header touches down inside the Alamo Dome. 9 p.m. Eastern, the start. But before we get to that, how about a little prelim countdown magic with your boy BC right here? Welcome into Showtime Championship Boxing's preliminary bouts countdown show. I'm Brian Campbell, taking you on this journey. Your captain, you may know me, of course, as the color analyst of ShowBox's The New Generation, also one half of the Morning Combat Sports award-winning digital show on Showtime. My partner in crime in that show, Luke Thomas, supposed to be joining me right now, had a last-minute personal emergency, but hey, we got BC here. We got some great fights. We got a triple header atop the bill, as I mentioned, in San Antonio. But how about two good-looking preliminary bouts in just a few minutes to set the stage? The featherweight division is, of course, filling up the marquee with Mark Magsayo making the first defense in tonight's main event on Showtime Championship Boxing of his WBC featherweight title. Just a few months removed from upsetting Gary Russell Jr. to end his lengthy reign. He'll welcome in former 122-pound champion, unbeaten Rey Vargas in a must-see main event. You like featherweights? How about you like it more in the co-main event when Brandon Figueroa and Carlos Castro, both title-contending, title-winning fighters at 122, moving up themselves to featherweight in a must-see co-feature that will be a title eliminator within the WBC. And, of course, how about some lightweights? Maybe the hottest, best division in the sport right now when unbeaten Frank Martin welcomes in Jackson Mariñez. Yes, a last-minute replacement, but this ain't no easy step over. We know Mariñez's pedigree. We know what he brings to the table. 3 fights you've got to see. As I mentioned, 9 p.m. Eastern will be the start on Showtime. But right now on the Showtime Sports YouTube channels, social media channels, it's me right here, BC. And we've got Rashidi Ellis at 154 pounds, making his return after a nearly 2-year layoff. He's going to kick off this preliminary card when he welcomes in Jose Marufo. That's also a last-minute change. We're still excited to see Speedy Rashidi get back into the ring. And your preliminary feature bout coming up in just a little bit. We're going to go down to the bantamweight division as a pair of one-loss fighters look to take the next step toward title contention when Ramon Cardenas welcomes Michel Banquez in a 10-round, 118-pound affair. Very fired up to take you through this journey. It's going to be a little bit of a hybrid, going to be a little bit of a watch party, a little bit of a, calling the fights, enjoying the action. Enjoy it. It's loose. It's fun. Come along on the ride with me. You're not going to want to miss out on this. We're going to go to the ring in just a few seconds. The Alamo Dome, the site, of course, San Antonio, for what should be a very interesting card with a lot of title implications, a lot of fighters looking to make their mark early. Yes, I'm looking at lightweight Frank Martin in tonight's opener at 9 p.m. Eastern, looking to stamp the next step in his career. We set you up with the featherweight top fights atop the marquee, but these preliminary bouts, very important positioning, as soon we will see Rashidi Ellis touch gloves with Jose Marufo and kick off the action. And look, Ellis is great amateur career, 23-0, 14 KOs, but got into a little bit of trouble finding the right fights for him. Sat out a year and 7 months out of his Golden Boy contract, making his PBC debut tonight. Yes, it was supposed to be Alberto Palmetta. He had to pull out last minute with a back injury, But welcome in the well-traveled and the durable Jose Marufo as we get ready for the action here. 8 rounds, super welterweights. I believe we are just seconds away from the fighters touching gloves in the center of the ring. But so much to look forward to in this evening, as I mentioned. You got to love the lightweight division, 135. So many, it's probably got the largest contingency of young names really looking to kick that door open and take the next step in their careers. Featherweight as hot as we mentioned, especially now that you've got more fighters from an already loaded 122-pound division looking to test the waters just 4 pounds north. We're going to get to all of that as I set the stage with you leading up to 9 p.m. Eastern and the start of the Showtime Championship Boxing triple header. Little hot in here. Okay, a little hot in here. Let's there we go. There's the action. The Alamo Dome, home to so many big time fights through the years. Who can forget Gervonta Davis's knockout of the year just 2 years ago against Leo Santa Cruz, 6th round, big time event inside the much famed arena, which opened in 1993. We know that Texas has some of the best boxing fans in the U.S., and as you're looking at Jose Marufo, 13, 10, and 2, the 30-year-old from Mexico. And here we go to start off the action in round 1. In the green, you're looking at Rashidi Ellis, goes by the nickname of Speedy, and Marufo trying to get right on top of him off the start. That's what you do when you've got an opponent who came in here after a long layoff. It had been, 1 year and 9 months since we last saw Ellis scoring the biggest victory of his career, by the way, a decision over fellow unbeaten Alexis Rocha. That came at 147 pounds. This comeback here at 154, although Jose Marufo taking the fight in just a few days last-minute notice. He came in much closer to that welterweight limit of 147. We'll see if that size difference plays a key role at all or not. Marufo in the green. The green shoes, green yellowish shoes, the red trunks. Jab there from Ellis. Just 29 years old, fights out of Lynn, Massachusetts. And of course, if you know that last name, the Ellis is a very prominent boxing family these days. Older brother Ronald Ellis, a super middleweight fighter. You've seen him on Showtime many times. Younger sister, a 2020 Olympian. Good right hand over the top there from Ellis. And down goes Marufo just like that in the opening round. Marufo seems to have his legs under him as he takes the standing 8 count, but a good start after such a long layoff. There's a lot of expectations to see what Speedy Rashidi can do here after signing with the PBC. No shortage, of course. Big names at 47 or 54. And Ellis not waiting around. Look at the power shots along the ropes. Left hook, right hand, clean shots. And down goes Marufo a second time, and you have to wonder how much longer will this be allowed to go on. Referee will let him go, and back to the action they go. 2 knockdowns already for Ellis as he continues to put on the pressure. See the left hook and the right hand, and that'll do it. Referee steps in, and just like that, Rashidi Ellis back in business. Takes the bow, well-deserved in the center of the ring early on at the Alamo Dome. 24-0 now with 15 KOs, the 29-year-old. Really looking to make his name now. You talk about, as I did, the big names at 47, at 54 that could be available to him as he gets busy again, climbs the rankings under the PBC flag. We know how loaded both of those divisions are, but this is the right type of statement to make. Yes, a last-minute opponent. Yes, you see the difference in their records, but 1 year and 9 months, not easy to just shake off. I didn't see any ring rust here. Jose Marufo was as game for as long as he lasted, looking to push the pace in the beginning. But let's take a closer look at how these knockdowns came to be. Short right hand from Ellis. You see the celebration as Marufo goes down. Let's get a second look at it. I believe this is the second knockdown. Just a beautiful, short, clean check left hook. And Ellis continuing to pour it on. He smelt blood. He went after it. A little bit of roughhousing there, but referee had seen enough right there. Rashidi Ellis, look, this is the performance you want to see out of him as he continues to get back into business, continues to push his name forward. He wants the smoke. If you listen to him in interviews, he wants the big names at 47. He's willing to fight at 54. And like I mentioned, replacement opponent or not, a good showing in the first round. TKO, 2 knockdowns, quick referee stoppage after that. Waiting on the official time and ruling here of this first round TKO. Good sportsmanship shown by both in the center of the ring.
Rashidi Ellis.
Wasn't so much the speed for Ellis as it was the power. He let his hands go. 24th bout of his pro career, but first one, as I mentioned, since October of 2020. Welcome to the PBC, Rashidi Ellis. You certainly made quite a statement here in your return. But to reset, fast and furious action off the start. My name, of course, Brian Campbell. You know me. Morning Combat. Showbox, the new generation. Taking you solo on this mission. We still have a preliminary feature to go. It's going to be 10 rounds in the bantamweight division as Ramon Cardenas welcomes in Michel Banquez. Should be a good one. Both fighters with just one defeat up to this point. But you look at what's at stake, what's going on tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, the triple header beginning only on Showtime. And if you're watching this and saying, I kind of want to see what happens. I kind of want to see if Mark Magsayo really is the next great Filipino action star. Maybe not in the direct lineage of Manny Pacquiao, as that's an unfair comparison for anybody to the 8-division world champion. But Magsayo's got the momentum at the moment. And if you want to see this test against fellow unbeaten Rey Vargas tonight, Showtime.com. Get your 30-day free trial. Check out the action. You will not be disappointed. But let's talk a little bit more about that main event. Mark Magsayo, the WBC featherweight champion. Look, he came in and he upset the apple cart in this division, taking that decision from Gary Russell Jr. But the key about this for Magsayo, who's 27, good-looking kid, big puncher, aggressive style, can be all action at times. Were those the perfect, ideal circumstances to leave no doubt against Russell? In this case, no. Gary Russell was coming in on a 2-year layoff. We know how often he tends to sit out between fights. He had the illness of his father and trainer, who went on to pass months later. He had a right shoulder injury that got re-aggravated early in that bout in round 4. But Russell, we know him world-class, one of the top fighters in this game. He fought with one hand and boxed well against Magsayo, but I still like a lot of what I saw and learned about Mark Magsayo in that performance. Used his aggression, at times was able to shift back and box more when he needed to. But the point of what I'm saying is he's in a lofty position now, but has he fully proved himself? I think the answer is still no. That's what makes this matchup against Rey Vargas so interesting. Vargas is going to have a 4-inch height advantage. He's 35-0 with 22 KOs. He's got a reach advantage. And you talk about a styles contrast with Magsayo as the aggressive, all-action type fighter. And Vargas has that, stubborn boxer. Very tall for this division. How tall? At 126, by the way. Formerly a top contender at 118, 122. For a featherweight, Rey Vargas at age 31 has the exact same reach as former welterweight champion Sugar Ray Leonard, and he's 1 inch taller. So that shows you the height challenge that Magsayo is up against in this one. But you look at how Magsayo got here. The synergy could not be more perfect heading into tonight's main event. What's the first fight Mark Magsayo, growing up in the Philippines, saw in boxing? The fight that made him want to become a pro boxer? Oh, how about Filipino icon Manny Pacquiao in the same arena as Magsayo's first title defense tonight, the Alamo Dome, San Antonio, 2003, when Pacquiao burst through the TV screen to stop Marco Antonio Barrera. A very important fight in that early rise of Pacquiao coming to the States, being last-minute opponents, getting opportunities, taking it. That's the fight that made Mark Magsayo a boxing fan. You talk about the synergy, to come full circle here and defend it. Does he have an opportunity to fill that hole as the next, all-action great Filipino star? Yes. That was a Manny Pacquiao role for a while. Nonito Donaire had a big run and looks to be at the end of a great Hall of Fame career. Magsayo's got some of that same synergy with Pacquiao when you consider recently adding Freddie Roach, the trainer, to camp. He had an 8-week camp ahead of this one, working out at the Wild Card in Los Angeles. But they're going up against, in Rey Vargas and Team Vargas, a legend of their own, 82-year-old Nacho Beristain, the chief second in the corner. Rey Vargas' father is his main trainer, but he's been going to the Romanza gym in Mexico City, the famed gym of one Nacho Beristain. You know him, the Marquez brothers. So many great Mexican champions have come in and out of his gym. So it's Freddie Roach versus Nacho Beristain in tonight's main event on Showtime Championship Boxing. But more importantly, it's Mark Magsayo looking to take that next step against Rey Vargas. Can't wait. Goes down as your main event tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Showtime. But you can't sleep on that co-main event and what that could mean. So here's the deal. First title defense, as I mentioned, for Magsayo in the main event, WBC. But a WBC title eliminator in that co-main event. We saw Brandon Figueroa just last year. Him and Stephen Fulton Jr., their 122-pound unification bout here on Showtime. It was a fight of the year, one of the most even action classics that you can see. Both fighters had huge moments each round, made it hard to score. Brandon Figueroa coming up razor thin in taking that defeat. But moving up to 126, he's had trouble making 122 in the past. We know how large he is for these weight classes. One of those fighters that gives up that height advantage, loves to fight on the inside, loves to go to the body. How will his body and mind respond now, not having to cut that final 4 pounds? Brandon Figueroa's already talked this week about feeling better, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, everything that comes together in that. He could be a factor here, as could Carlos Castro, by the way, his opponent, who has fought some of the similar top competition. Both guys stopped former champion Oscar Escandon via 10th round KO. They also, though, have a common opponent in Luis Neri, which is important here because Brandon Figueroa stopped Luis Neri, the former 118-pound champion, in their 122-pound title bout last year to the body. And Carlos Castro in his last bout taking away the loss in a very disputed split decision against Neri. So that shows you the class of these two. And while the winner of this co-main event tonight isn't the mandatory challenger per se for Magsayo, they will be number one in the WBC and certainly will be knocking on that door, although we do know Mark Magsayo. What's his dream fight? He wants, if he gets by Rey Vargas tonight, how about Leo Santa Cruz? All right, how about that for a calendar year potentially for Mark Magsayo? Upsetting Gary Russell Jr. He's got Rey Vargas tonight. Can he get Leo Santa Cruz to close the year? We'll have to see of this rising star, 27 years old, but he's going to have his hands full. But enough for the moment, setting the stage for what we're going to see at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. We're going to go back into the ring here, the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, for our preliminary featured bout. And it's going to be the bantamweight division. Ramon Cardenas, 20-1 with 10 KOs, the 26-year-old, welcoming in Michel Banquez. Same record, 21-0, 14 wins by stoppage. The 32-year-old, 10 rounds of bantamweight action coming your way very shortly. This should be a good one. This should be an interesting one for future positioning. Bantamweight has given us a lot of fun through the years, a lot of big moments. As you see Ramon Cardenas entering, colors of the Mexican flag, of course. The white gloves, his opponent Michel Banquez across from him. Ramon Cardenas was a big Juan Manuel Marquez fan. Who wasn't, right? Takes the nickname Dinamita. He's 26 years old. He's from San Antonio there, Mexican-American, fighting in his home city this evening.
From San Antonio, Texas. Once again, it is all brought to you by TGB Promotions and Showtime. Sponsored by Geico and DraftKings Sportsbook. The three judges Ringside are Ursulo Perez, Jesse Reyes, and David Sutherland. The referee in charge of the action is John Shorley. Premier Boxing Champions now present 10 rounds in the bantamweight division. Introducing first in the red corner, wearing the blue with gold trim, he weighed in at 117 1/2 pounds. With 20 victories, including 14 by knockout, opposite of 1 defeat, representing Caracas, Venezuela, here is Michel El Arsenal Banquez. And now introducing his opponent across the ring in the blue corner, wearing the Mexican colors, he weighed in at 118 pounds. With 20 victories, including 10 by knockout, opposite of just 1 defeat. Fighting out of San Antonio, Texas, by way of Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, here is Ramon Dinamita Cardenas. Once again, the referee in charge of the action is John Shorley.
Okay, guys, expect a good clean fight from both of you. Obey my commands, protect yourselves at all times. Let's go.
Michel Banquez, fighting out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida these days. Caracas, Venezuela, his home. Spent some time in Colombia in his youth. See him there in the black gloves, the blue trunks with yellow trim. And his opponent, San Antonio's own Ramon Cardenas. Here we go in round 1. 10 rounds at the 118-pound division. John Shorley, your referee. Both fighters looking to set up and establish that jab early on. So you see a nice aerial view of the action. Good stiff jab from Cardenas. Really looking to establish himself early. Got a nice rat tail going on in the back. A little sartorial splendor on the hair from Ramon Cardenas. Yeah, I'm talking about Lucas Matisse, famously known for the rat tail. Yeah, I'm talking about Kermit Larinaga, famously known for the rat tail. Let's see if Ramon Cardenas can pull that off. On the same level, good leaping left hook to get off early. No last-minute opponent filling in this one. These two very evenly matched, identical 20-1 records. You're seeing that early, although Cardenas in the red shoes, colors of the Mexican flag on his trunks. Definitely the aggressor early on. Good right hand to the body from Cardenas. Sitting wildly on the left hook. But coming back to the body is Cardenas. Banquez very poised, patient at the start, trying to pick up the rhythms of his opponent, looking to counter. But so far, nearly all the way through round 1, the story has been the jab of Cardenas. And the rat tail, by the way. Big fan. Left hook, right hand combination. Cardenas dictating the pace, but as you can see, not afraid to go inside and trade. This is also Banquez's first successful combination, working the body, going upstairs with the left hand. Both fighters well comfortable to trade on the inside here as Banquez starting to let his hands go. Difference really is Banquez pawing with that jab where Cardenas letting it go with a rhythm and with some electricity. 1 round in the books. Cardenas ranked number 5 in the WBA at 118 pounds. Never been down as a pro or amateur. A very good first round for Cardenas, although you have to love sort of the spiciness of Banquez to come back, let his hands go in close to close that round, gain some respect as he's doing right off the start with a lead left hook. One thing Banquez is doing well is he's the more physical fighter right now. Stepping into his jab more, but very comfortable on the inside. Pushing, whatever he can get away with. Pushing Cardenas. Banquez at 32 years old. Has only been a pro for 6 years, but had a long and decorated amateur career in Venezuela before that pro debut. Fought 18 times in his native nation. Good body shot there to end the three-punch combination. Wild right hand as Cardenas picked that one up. Got out of the way, but Banquez fighting much more crude than the first round, but it's working as he's backing Cardenas up to the corner. But back to Banquez being a world traveler. Fought 18 times in Venezuela. 1 each in the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Chile. His first time fighting, though, in Cardenas' backyard of San Antonio. But round 2, Banquez bringing the fight to the native son. Banquez telegraphing that right hand heavily, but it's getting off inside. The left hook from Cardenas to gain back a little bit of that respect. Look, you wear a rat tail to the ring, you better be able to fight on the inside, and I'm not doubting Cardenas' want or ability to do that, but Banquez getting the better of these exchanges, even if it's coming in a much more crude fashion. Good right hand as he continues to walk Cardenas back. Also like that the Venezuelan mixing it up to the body just the same. Squaring up a lot. I mentioned some of that those crude elements of his game, but it's working. Banquez trained by Luis Perez in the same gym in Fort Lauderdale, Contenders boxing gym that produced former unified junior middleweight world champion Jason Banana Rosario. The jab is going to have to be a part of Cardenas' offense to keep the aggressive foe off of him. Very good round 2 for Michel Banquez. Good action here through 2 in this 10-round preliminary feature bout here on the Showtime Championship Boxing Prelims Countdown Show. I am Brian Campbell, your captain, taking you through here as we look into the corner of one Ramon Cardenas. Know what you're thinking. Can you also pull off that hairstyle? Worth a try. Dennis getting instructions from his trainer, Jose Martinez. He also has Adam Lopez in his corner as a chief second. You may remember that name, a veteran of the super bantamweight division. Last fought in 2020. Round 3 between Ramon Cardenas in the white gloves, but an aggressive Michel Banquez in the black gloves, continuing to push the pace. Something he saw there in round 2 he liked, looking to back his opponent up. When Banquez uses his jab as a weapon rather than a pawing rangefinder, you see the difference in his success right there. He's also mixing in body shots well. Fighting on the road, opponent's backyard, but he's taking the fight to Cardenas. Cardenas was quoted as saying ahead of this fight that he doesn't consider himself to have a style. His style is adjusting to whatever his opponent brings to the table. See if Cardenas can make those adjustments after a successful round 2 for Banquez. It's going to probably begin and end with that jab, which he's working hard to reestablish this round. When we talk about the Alamo Dome, which I mentioned opened in 1993, has there been a bigger fight in there than the Showtime pay-per-view? Julio Cesar Chavez and Pernell Whitaker fighting to that very, very disputed draw in 1994? I would say no, of course. Although we've seen Canelo Alvarez in 2013 unify 154-pound titles against Austin Trout in this same building. Seen the NBA San Antonio Spurs once call that building home for 10 years. Action slowing just a bit. Cardenas using distance much better in this round. Good right hand over the top to surprise Banquez. Good level change there from Banquez. Feint the jab, but come right back with the right cross to the body. This is where he wants to be, Banquez, putting Cardenas on the ropes, but he's going to have to score in these situations to get that edge from the 3 judges sitting ringside, should this one go the full 10-round distance. Same record as I mentioned, 20-1 for both fighters. Banquez the advantage in finishes at 14-10 for Cardenas. But this is the distance Cardenas wants to be. It's the distance he needs to be. Working that jab from the outside to put a nice bow on round 3. Action here through 3 rounds in this bantamweight preliminary feature bout. Of course, we were just a few minutes removed from a heck of an opening statement from speedy Rashidi Ellis, ending a nearly 2-year layoff and making his PBC debut a successful one, but blowing out Jose Marufo in round 1. 2 knockdowns before the stoppage at 2 minutes and 8 seconds standing. A heck of a comeback performance there from Ellis. It may be expected with the level of competition, but you still got to get in there and shake off the rust. And how about a showcase like that to show the 147 and 154-pound contenders that he's here. He's ready to do big business at age 29. But round 4 of this bantamweight featured bout, you see the aggressive Banquez and the black gloves leaping left hook to start things off. Of course, the same division saw Nonito Donaire, the aforementioned Filipino legend, use 2021 as his renaissance year to come back, win a world title at 118, score a pair of knockouts. But then he entered earlier this year into that rematch with the Japanese monster, Naoya Inoue. Didn't go like the first one, as Inoue getting the early and devastating stoppage, just a few years removed from the two of them, co-authoring not only the fight of the year a couple years back, but really one of the modern classics in terms of all-action fights. Good pace here in round 4, though, as Banquez, this is where he wants to be. Pushing Cardenas to the ropes, getting off to the body, mixing in power shots upstairs. He's a much different fighter at close range than he is trying to catch up to Cardenas' jab. Left hook to the body again from Banquez. That matters to the judges when you're the fighter who's not only coming forward, but you're visibly moving your opponent to the body, as Banquez is. It's going to get the attention, but left hook from Cardenas to show that he's still in this. 10-round fight. These early body shots can certainly pay big dividends late, and Banquez not cheapening out. He was very poised in that opening round, but we saw that flurry he broke out in the final 30 seconds. He's continued that action here throughout most of this. Maybe the third round was a little bit more in Cardenas' favor with the jab, but when Banquez can get in at this range, even if he's not landing flush, it's the optics of what you're showing. He's at least to the naked eye seemingly doubling the output of Cardenas, and boy, is he also landing. A good performance here early on from Venezuela's Michel Banquez. Referee John Shorley warning Banquez there for hitting to the back of the head. Final 10 seconds of round 4. Dennis doing a better job fighting his way out of trouble a bit. Good stiff jab to put a little bit of an exclamation point on his attempt at a comeback. 4 rounds complete. This has been a very competitive one. Could it be 2-2? Could it be 3-1? Banquez? It's going to be interesting to see how those judges have it as you're looking into the corner of Ramon Cardenas. There's Michel Banquez. Luis Perez, his trainer. Tell you what, Banquez living up to the nickname he goes by, El Arsenal, given to him by his sister before his pro debut. He said he wanted a nickname that wasn't boring, something that really told his opponent the kind of offense he's going to bring. And he's broken out that arsenal so far through 4 rounds, getting off early as the aggressor here in round 5. A little bit crude, a little bit telegraphed, but Banquez landing with these shots. Good counter jabs there, though, from Cardenas to get himself out of the corner. And if you're Team Cardenas, you're going to have to get him off of those ropes, off of the corners. Any situation where Miguel Banquez can keep Cardenas stationary, he's able to chip away with power shots, hooks to the body. Trench warfare here as they both dig to the body as the action spills into the center of the ring. Good combination from Banquez. Again, even when he's not landing clean, he is the one consistently getting off first. Good uppercut on the inside from Banquez. Neither fighter able to hurt the other, at least in visible form, to change the momentum of this fight. Although once Banquez committed to this El Arsenal style, you have seen potential advantages in the two-way exchanges going his way. Another good combination from Banquez inside. He's married. He's the father of an 8-year-old son. 32 years old. Banquez, look at that short right hand. He can telegraph it at times, but he can sneak it in. A laser beam and a double uppercut on the inside. Cardenas had established that jab in the first round, brought it back in the third round, hasn't used a whole lot of it in the times in between and around that. Lead left hook again for Banquez. His power looks a little bit more thudding than sort of the one-punch variety, but it tends to add up, as you can see. Left hook from Cardenas there as they exchange at the same time. That got his corner fired up. Could it be, though, another round for Michel Banquez? 5 rounds in the book, halfway through this 10-round bantamweight preliminary feature bout. Of course, this is just the appetizer for what goes down. 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. Showtime, the only place you can find it. A triple header. You want to get a taste of the action for free? How about go to Showtime.com right now. Start your 30-day free trial. Give it a test drive. Will you be disappointed? Probably not. Mark Magsayo defending his WBC featherweight championship in the main event against fellow unbeaten Rey Vargas. It's the Philippines versus Mexico, of course, a classic boxing rivalry. Talked about that lineage there of Magsayo. Grew up a Pacquiao fan, now trained by Manny Pacquiao's Hall of Fame trainer, Freddie Roach, the Wild Card Gym. And we know he's got that fan base behind him. See what happens tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. Back to round 6 as we enter the second half of this bantamweight tilt. 10 rounds. Ramon Cardenas in the white gloves, with a much more aggressive Michel Banquez in the black gloves, blue trunks. It's been pressure fighting. It's been squaring up at times, threatening a stance switch, but the thudding shots have gotten through. It's almost as if Cardenas cannot figure out, do I want to box this guy? Do I want to stand and trade with him? When he has boxed and used distance behind that jab, he has found success. But at this range, it has been all Banquez. For the most part, of course, you can see Cardenas mixing in some counter shots here and there, but it's typically 1 for every 2, 3, 4 that Banquez is throwing, cutting off the ring well. When Banquez does commit to that jab and step into it, you can see the power behind it. A little bit of a half jab, lead half left hook there for Banquez. Right hand inside from Banquez. This is his pace. These are his terms. That's really the right call here. These are the terms that Michel Banquez wants. If I'm Team Cardenas, I am watching out for that right uppercut that Banquez is consistently timing. Some good power shots from Cardenas coming out of the corner there. Bouncing on his toes. The inevitability seems to be he ends up with his back to the turnbuckle. You can see those judges watching closely. Much more active in this defensive posture, though, Cardenas, meaning defensive because he's backed up. Doing a much better job this round of at least fighting his way out of unfavorable situations. Banquez's uncle, his younger brother, both amateur boxers in his native Venezuela, but he's the first of the family to turn pro. And when he can fight on these terms, you can see the success. Pretty even round, though, overall. Very interested to see how these rounds end up scoring. 6 in the book of this 10-round preliminary feature bout in the bantamweight division. We'd be seeing either of the winner of this fight taking the step up to the Showtime championship level. No shortage of big fights available at 118 pounds. Just the one loss for both coming in from Michel Banquez, who lost a unanimous decision in 2018 to Miguel Gonzalez, but has riled off 7 consecutive wins since then. 32-year-old. For Cardenas, his lone loss came by majority decision, 10 rounds, to Danny Flores in 2017. But an 8-fight win streak for Cardenas has brought him into tonight's preliminary featured bout. Round 7 between bantamweights, and already you can see Banquez corralling the real estate that better fits his game. Although we've seen a more game Cardenas punching off the ropes. Good uppercut there from Cardenas. Keep mentioning the optics. You know, the judges have strike zones. We know this in boxing. We know the criteria. We also know there's preferences. Some judges like a guy who's pushing and pressing that action. If you're Cardenas, you've certainly had moments. But do you need a big moment of your own here to sway things in your direction? You do never know. It goes the distance until those scores are read. Both fighters fighting a very spirited pace here in round 7. Short chopping shots for Michel Banquez inside. Cardenas, the hometown fighter, not getting much of that advantage, though. At least not capitalizing on it. Banquez is jabbing to the chest. Can't see if the jab upstairs isn't there. He's just looking to land that, just trying to touch Cardenas, trying to hold him in place, keep him where he wants him. Very good ring generalship from Banquez, even if at times, as I mentioned, a little bit of a crude delivery, but it's working. Good right hand from Cardenas to try to create some space. No better skill in boxing, if you're an aggressive fighter, than being able to cut off that ring. You don't want to follow your opponent. You want to lead your opponent into those corners, into those trouble zones. Win that footwork battle. And chop away at the tree. That's certainly what Banquez has tried to do, having good mixtures of success, however. Good flurry from Cardenas. Not much landing, though, but it was enough to get him out of that trouble position. Seven rounds complete. You can see that timer in the top left corner of your screen. Just a little bit over an hour until the start of the Showtime Championship Boxing Triple Header, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Only on Showtime. We've got a nice spirited affair here at bantamweight. Certainly no championship rounds here in this 10-round affair, but we're entering into that area where it's go time. You want to win this fight, rounds 8, 9, 10, it is certainly go time. You can see the instructions being handed out by both corners. Sometimes it's skill, sometimes it's will. What will separate these two bantamweights as we enter the home stretch? Round 8 of 10. Michel Banquez in the blue trunks continuing, starting off each round with that burst. Not as clean with his shots as he was toward the middle of this fight. Certainly contesting it on his own terms. Good left hook to the body from Banquez. See a little bit more physicality from Cardenas in these moments. Clinch, push, anything to get his opponent off of him. Good counter left hand from Cardenas. Looping right hand there from Banquez. Seemed to partially hit the mark. Almost a Marcos Maidana-like corkscrew shot, excuse me. Who can forget the pair of Showtime pay-per-view bouts Maidana put on against the greatest Floyd Mayweather for walking off on his own terms into a retirement of sorts. Teased a couple comebacks there, Maidana, the Argentine legend, but never quite got back on the road. He'll probably enjoy the pressure that Michel Banquez is putting on, though. Left hooks land simultaneously from both fighters. Neither has really shown a tell, so to speak, in terms of anything that has landed shifting the momentum of the fight or visibly hurting them. Good physical infighting from Banquez, pushing Cardenas back, getting off those clubbing shots. It's a little bit of tough man, a little bit of street fight style in what Banquez is doing, but he's certainly mixing in the sweet science enough. This body shot from Cardenas. Look, he's game. He's willing on the inside. The question has to become, and we'll know that, of course, the answer when we hear these scorecards, if it goes the distance, was this the better game plan for Cardenas to fight on these terms? He's pushing back nicely here against Banquez for eating a flurry. Can't ask for much more from these two in terms of output, though, letting their hands go in the closing end of round 8. Good back and forth two-way action. Just 2 rounds to go in the bantamweight division. You see the backdrop, the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Just a little bit over an hour till the start of the Showtime Championship Boxing triple header. Don't miss unbeaten lightweight Frank Martin. You may know his very famous trainer, Derek James, arguably the best trainer in the game today, maybe along with Eddie Reynoso of Team Canelo fame, but Derek James is Errol Spence Jr. He's got Jermel Charlo. He's got Frank Martin, the unbeaten lightweight. Well, you talk about a last-minute opponent change for him. He will not be facing Ricardo Nunez as originally scheduled. Nunez had visa issues, but Jackson Marinez, who just, 2 fights ago, most of us thought he had done enough to edge Rolly Romero. And by done enough, looked like he had done it widely to win the secondary title at 135. But he came up empty. A unanimous, controversial, but a unanimous decision. Marinez looking to bounce back from a pair of 2 elite defeats, taking on Frank Martin. But round 9 here in this bantamweight preliminary feature, and Banquez again. It's the same story every round. The first 30 seconds, backing Cardenas up. Has he been as effective in the second half of this fight? We can argue Cardenas has done much better work in the second half than he did in the first in terms of fighting out of trouble. But who would you rather be is sometimes the refrain you hear when judging close rounds. Cardenas busier here than we've seen. Good jab from Banquez, disguising it by looking down. And this is the infighting we're talking about. Banquez certainly much more skilled at this inside. A little bit leading with the forearms. There's a little bit of questionable stuff there. Referee John Shirley letting it go, but that's that physical infighting that works when you can pin your opponent back. Cardenas trying to fight his way out of trouble. You can hear the crowd starting to pick up. The corners of both urging their charges on. As this fight could be very much in the balance here in these final 2 rounds. Good right-handed punching from Banquez. Boy, is he telegraphing those, but they're landing in some form. Banquez almost blinding Cardenas with those lead forearms before coming right back over the top with the right cross. We're in Texas, though. Texas Forever Street, you know. Sometimes things can be liberal on the boxing side of things there. Not as much pepper on that steak from Banquez, but those uppercuts are still landing. He's slowing down just a bit. Could be an opening for Cardenas should he step on that gas pedal and come on. Warning from referee John Shorley there finally for Banquez, who's not only telegraphing those right hands, but leading with that left forearm to sort of blatantly set them up. Left hand from Cardenas coming out of that crouch with the hook. It scores. Spirited affair through 9 rounds here at bantamweight. Will it be Michel Banquez or Ramon Cardenas? Both coming in with identical 20-1 records. Both looking to take a very important step forward in terms of positioning in the larger 118-pound title picture. And there's a good backstage shot of one Rey Vargas, 35-0, 22 KOs. The former 122-pound champion has moved up to featherweight. He's unnaturally large for this weight division in terms of height, reach, but he fights in a very complicated defensive boxing style. Can Mark Magsayo, in the first defense of his WBC featherweight title, lure Vargas into a fight? It's something both had talked about this week in the press conference. Did you see the instructions in this one? Round 10 between bantamweights about to begin. They touch gloves. And here we go. Who wants it? 3 minutes to potentially decide this one. Michel Banquez, as he's accustomed to doing this fight, coming out aggressive early. Left hook to the body, right hand over the top. Good flurry on the inside. Combination punching from Cardenas. Right in the center of the ring. Could put a phone booth in there, fit both of them. Trade right hands inside. Better work here for Cardenas than we've seen in some time. Could probably sense the urgency of needing to exit this fight with a big statement. The action has been close enough where you certainly can argue a potential close decision either way. And this is not about defense anymore. Both fighters just letting their hands go. A few miles per hour off of those fastballs, but they're not holding back. Good action in the center of the ring. Both getting off with right hands. Both fighting in the trenches. Banquez still relying on that forearm to kind of push off and set up room for that right hand. But Cardenas is plenty game to fight him on these terms. .70 seconds remaining in the 10th and final round. You can hear the crowd, you can hear the corners of both urging them on. Don't forget Cardenas fighting in his backyard here of San Antonio, wearing the colors of the Mexican flag. He's coming on a bit here to start the big right hand from Cardenas. Most meaningful shot of both fighters this fight. You can see it shook Banquez just enough. Cardenas feels there's an opening here. Can he close the show at home? Have to love the spirit of both of these fighters. Banquez trying to fight back. You can see he's still weathered from that one right hand that snapped his neck back. Does Cardenas have enough juice for the final 10 seconds? Here we go. Left hook from Cardenas. Flurry inside from Banquez, but not much on it. Nice 1-2 over the top from Cardenas to leave a final statement. They go the full distance in San Antonio. 10 rounds complete. This one, of course, now in the hands of the three judges sitting ringside. Both, but at least by their body language, seem to like their chances there as Michel Banquez goes back to his corner. If this was a close fight, which it very much could be, how much is that final round 10 from Ramon Cardenas, and particularly that big right hand? How much could that sway the judges? We're about to find out. Boy, speedy Rashidi Ellis didn't give us much time to set up or deliver there as he took care of business in round 1. But these two bantamweights both coming in with 20-1 records here in our Showtime Championship Boxing preliminary countdown show. Featured attraction. That was 10 fun rounds. Good two-way action. Both had their moments in terms of taking control of the fight. Did I like Banquez's work overall as the aggressor? I would say yes. But you have to understand, Cardenas countering nicely, sometimes off of those ropes. Did much better work in the second half than he did the first. Who will be handed just the second defeat of their 22-bout pro careers. It's going to be a busy summer, of course, as always, for Showtime Championship Boxing. We've got Danny Garcia, July 30th, Brooklyn, making his 154-pound debut against Jose Benavidez Jr. in the main event of a triple header. And how about Jake Paul, August 6th, Showtime pay-per-view, the Mecca, New York's Madison Square Garden. Supposed to be Tommy Fury for the 5-0 Jake Paul. The former sparring partner, the son of the former heavyweight champion, Hasim Rahman Jr., stepping in on late notice. They've had some dust-ups in the gym before. Who got the advantage? Both say them. We'll find out August 6th. But let's go to the decision.
We go to the judges' scorecards. Judges David Sutherland and Jesse Reyes both saw it 97-93. And Judge Ursulo Perez saw it 96-94. All three in agreement for your winner by unanimous decision, Ramon Dinamita.
And it goes to San Antonio's own Miguel Flores reading us the decision. It's Ramon Cardenas. May have had some moments that weren't favorable in his way in the mid-rounds of the fight as Michel Banquez put on the pressure. But who landed the cleaner shots late? Who had the biggest moment of this fight in round 10 with that right hand? It was certainly Ramon Cardenas. 97-93 on two of the three judges' scorecards. 7 rounds to 3. And 96-94, 6 rounds to 4 on the third scorecard. Ramon Cardenas survives and advances 21-1 with 10 KOs. And that'll wrap up the preliminary fight action on our Showtime Championship Boxing Prelims Countdown Show. But as you can see, that timer to the top left of the screen closing in on just under 1 hour to go for the main attraction, the triple header. 9 p.m. Eastern time is the start, only on Showtime. And Mark Magsayo in that main event, the up-and-coming Filipino action star, 27 years old, 24-0, 16 KOs in the first defense of that WBC featherweight title against one Rey Vargas, who's 35-0, 22 KOs from Mexico. We talked about the Hall of Fame credentials in both of those corners. Mark Magsayo, Freddie Roach, Hall of Famer, Manny Pacquiao's longtime trainer, and Rey Vargas, whose father grew up with the legend, 82 years old himself, Nacho Beristain, has good old Ignacio in his corner as a chief second. So wouldn't be the first time Freddie Roach and Nacho Beristain were opposite sides of the ledger in a Filipino versus Mexican fight. Of course, remember the 4 times that Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez did the business. But this is all about the next generation. Is Mark Magsayo, who's got the backing of that rabid, aggressive, beloved Filipino nation, just intense fight fans who we all remember in the last 20 years the following, the push Manny Pacquiao got upon coming to the U.S. and exploding on the scene. Those same fans are looking to link on to the next train. Is it going to be Mark Magsayo leaving that station? What he showed against Gary Russell Jr. and pulling the upset to win that WBC featherweight title, it was surprising. It was eye-opening. Yes, there was that shoulder injury that we mentioned to Gary Russell, but Russell still fought pretty darn good with one hand over the second half of that fight. Mark Magsayo getting the better of him over 12 rounds and getting the decision. Close fight, majority decision, one scorecard even in the end, but two judges giving it for Magsayo. So how about this? A tough mandatory opponent waiting for him, and that's one Rey Vargas. You remember him having won titles at 122 pounds, but moving up to featherweight, he seems to have the body for it. He's got the reach. Not a big puncher, but can certainly play that spoiler role. So you love the style contrast in tonight's main event of the puncher, the aggressor in Magsayo, who said this week, I hope Rey Vargas isn't looking to run the other direction. I want to fight. Can Rey Vargas use his veteran tricks at age 31 to keep that distance, to take that world title in another division and advance on? When you look at the players at 126, Leo Santa Cruz still around after moving back down following his knockout loss to Gervonta Davis at 130 pounds. That's who Magsayo wants next should he get a victory. But you're going to have to watch this co-main event tonight very closely, as I mentioned. Brandon Figueroa, one of the most exciting young fighters in the sport, just 25 years old, 22-1, 17 KOs. You know about that fight of the year late last year against Stephen Fulton Jr. I want to see a rematch, by the way. I think we probably will eventually, although Fulton certainly has his hands full at the moment in his attempts to unify all four belts at 122, which could lead him to a four-belt undisputed opportunity against Mirjan Akhmadaliev. But even though Brandon Figueroa moving up in weight here, you know those two probably have the potential to see each other again. Figueroa could become the number one contender at WBC for the winner of Magsayo or Vargas if he can defeat Carlos Castro in tonight's co-main event. But that's an if. Castro, 28 years old, 27-1, 12 KOs, did have that disputed split decision loss against Luis Neti. Castro got dropped for the first time in his career, got up off the canvas, fought well, could have had a case on the scorecards, but he's back in another big fight, another big opportunity here. Just as anyone else, I want to see what can Brandon Figueroa do with the. It's, you know, you say to yourself, just 4 pounds the difference between super bantamweight, featherweight, 122 to 126, but that can be a major difference when we're talking about these small weight classes. Without that hard of a cut for Figueroa, can he be more aggressive? Can he be more elusive? We don't look at him as an elusive fighter. He's a long-armed fighter, good-looking fighter, by the way, the heartbreaker. But he's a fighter who bends at the waist, gets inside on you, and goes to the body. What's he going to do here against Carlos Castro, who's also moving up to 126, looking to really make his name as well? No bigger name you can make in this than the opportunity to potentially fight for that WBC title with the win. But let's focus on the opener in tonight's 9 p.m. Eastern triple header on Showtime Sports. And, of course, I mentioned him, 27 years old, Frank Martin, 15-0, 11 KOs, had an outstanding amateur career, has really been slowly coming on in the lightweight division as a potential player, as somebody to watch. Has a great trainer in his corner in Derek James. And it's you know, I don't say that to pull the sword out, but you see a guy like Derek James doesn't train a lot of fighters, right? Trains great fighters, though. Trains pound-for-pound ranked fighters. Trains Errol Spence Jr., who is the promoter of Frank Martin. Trains Jermell Charlo, the 4-belt champion at 154 pounds. Spence, the 3-belt champion at 147 pounds. Frank Martin, though, has some bright potential here. But this is not going to be an easy fight. We mentioned how it was supposed to be Ricardo Nunez. Visa issues pulled him out. So this 10-round opener, it's going to be at 140 pounds to give some leeway for Jackson Mariñez, who took this fight on just 9 days' notice. But even though Mariñez been out for a year, 7 months himself, and even though he's coming off a 2-fight losing skid, those losses are against the very elite. And one of those 2 losses 2 fights ago for Mariñez, you saw it with your eyes. Did he outbox Rolly Romero? Should he have deserved the nod there? He ends up losing a unanimous decision, including a 118 to 110 scorecard, which under no, for Romero, which under no circumstances really told the story of that fight. But Jackson Mariñez is a smart, slick boxer. Whatever he lacks in terms of fight-changing power, he certainly makes up in slyness and guile. He's really looking to put those elite losses behind him and really get an opportunity for what he felt he already should have had, that secondary title at lightweight that Rolly Romero claimed. There's a big opportunity here, because when you get a prospect like Frank Martin, who's on the verge of crossing over into potential contendership, sometimes you can catch them early. Sometimes you can catch them a little unseasoned. This is also a step up in some ways for Frank Martin in that regard. So you love the matchmaking that we're going to see off the top in that 10-round lightweight bout. But I was mentioning the upcoming calendar as we headed to the decision on our prelim feature bout just now. It's that August 6th date you do have to circle. Jake Paul's been an interesting player on the boxing side. He's made big headlines at Showtime pay-per-view, fought former UFC star Tyron Woodley twice, was trying to get Tyson Fury's half-brother Tommy Fury in there to fight a real boxer for the first time after, getting his feet wet with ex-NBA stars, ex-YouTube stars, ex-combat sports athletes. Well, now he's got a real boxer. Tommy Fury was unable to get the visa in time to come to the States for the press conference and really activate this fight. But Team Paul scoured the globe, trying to find replacement opponents. Saw him on Twitter mention that they did reach out to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which is certainly a step continued in the right direction for Paul in terms of just 5 fights in, right? Who's fighting on pay-per-view just 5 fights into their career? Who's fighting accomplished names? He's looking to now step up against, actual boxers. You got to give him the respect for this last-minute opportunity here against Hasim Rahman Jr. Rahman, 12-1, 6'3", southpaw heavyweight. On August 6th, New York City, Madison Square Garden, they're going to fight at a 200-pound catchweight, which is basically cruiserweight. They're going to fight at cruiserweight. That's going to be interesting for Rahman, who's fought his last fight at heavyweight, had his lone career defeat in his last fight, was stopped in the 5th round by the son of Tommy Morrison, another former heavyweight champion, but fought at 224, has fought as high as 269. He's going to have to cut down for 200 for this one. But if you see some of those early quotes coming back from Hasim Rahman Jr., they've sparred before a few years back in Puerto Rico. There's some video floating around that Jake put out in the ethosphere again of the two of them talking trash after a sparring session. According to Rahman, he went easy on Paul, who was a fledgling fighter at that point, just looking to get some good time. Is Jake Paul at this point, 5 fights in, on the level of somebody like Hasim Rahman Jr., who's 12-1, as I mentioned, 7 KOs, maybe doesn't look to be on the fast track at the moment to become the next heavyweight champion like his father, Hasim Rahman Sr., who, of course, upset Lennox Lewis with a knockout punch heard around the world in South Africa in the late 90s before getting knocked out in the rematch, going on to win the title, by the way, a piece of the title a second time later in his career. But Hasim Rahman Jr. can fight, and he's a southpaw, as I mentioned, and he's big. This isn't Jake Paul fighting somebody coming up in weight. This is essentially somebody coming down a little bit. So this is going to be an interesting test in this. What do you want to call it? What do you want to call what Jake Paul's doing? It's real boxing, but it's different, of course. There's a carnival side to it, a circus side to it, except for what happens in that ring. These are real fights, and Jake Paul takes this as serious as anybody else. But this has the potential to be his first real fight. And that's certainly worth watching there August 6th. But it all sets the stage for tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern, top of the hour from San Antonio, the triple header that we propped you up, got you fired up for. Hope you enjoyed the 2-bout preliminary undercard. But, take a water break, stretch a little bit. Be back 9 p.m. Eastern on Showtime, Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And it's Mark Magsayo, the WBC featherweight champion, welcoming unbeaten former champion Rey Vargas. This should be a good one in the featured attraction. Don't miss it. And if you don't have Showtime, one more time, go to Showtime.com right now. 30 days free. Can you beat it? I don't think so. Okay? SHO.com right now. Start your free trial. Excuse me. My name is Brian Campbell. You may know me as the color analyst on Showtime's Showbox, the New Generation series. You may know me as one half of the award-winning combat sports digital series Morning Combat on Showtime and CBS Sports. Happy to have gone up and down with you, setting the stage for this evening. My partner in crime, Luke Thomas, unable to be here, but we wish him well. You can check Luke and I out on Morning Combat every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, youtube.com/Morning Combat. You can go to the Showtime Sports social media page if you want to find more information there, but it's what we do. The top news, breakdowns, mixed martial arts, boxing, it's combat sports, bare knuckle fighting, whatever's going on, we're on the front lines of it. It's a variety show. It's a real show. It's an award-winning fun show, so check that out. But buckle up. You're going to enjoy it tonight. A triple header coming your way at 9 p.m. Eastern. Hope you enjoy the appetizers, the main course behind you. My name is Brian Campbell, signing off. Enjoy the fights.
Welcome to the Alamo City, San Antonio, Texas. This city loves boxing. In the main event, a battle of unbeaten. Mark Magsayo, Rey Vargas.
There's only one left undefeated in this coming Saturday, so it's gonna be me.
The higher they go with their confidence, the harder they fall.
No, man, you never fought a guy like me. I'm not worried. I'll be the best in my division.
They don't know what's coming, and when that happens, that's when I'm gonna tear his head off. You'll see.
See you Saturday.
For the WBC Featherweight Championship of the World, Rey Vargas. Mark Magsayo, the champion. A big night indeed.